The following creepypasta that you are about to hear is not real. These are made-up creepypastas that I write myself. Thank you, and have a good day. So, was Gordon good to Karen?
Oh, of course. He would always be kind to her, he would always support her, and really the only times they would ever argue is when one of them had a stressful day or something like that.
Oh, so it seems like Gordon was really loyal to her then.
Yep, he was.
Alright, so before I ask you about the contents of the prototype I found, I'd like to ask you more about Karen and Gordon, if that's alright.
Sure, totally, go ahead.
Alright, awesome. So, what was your relationship like with Karen?
My relationship with Karen, well, we were really good friends and she was really nice to me. She treated me sort of like a brother, to be honest.
Well, that's awesome. So, how was your relationship with Gordon, though, like, in general?
Gordon was sort of the same situation. We were really good friends and we really worked well as a team. And I remember while we were working on, like, I remember when we were working our asses off on an earlier prototype of Kung Fu Dancing, Gordon wanted to mess around a bit and put in he put in a picture of a bag of marijuana as one of the level backgrounds for fun.
Oh, so I'm guessing that Gordon had a little bit of a dark sense of humor then?
Oh yeah, totally, but about sort of the same thing. I mean, we like dark humor a lot, so yeah.
Well, awesome. So I know I should have asked this at the start of this conversation, but how exactly did you meet Gordon and Karen?
Well, I first met Gordon at my third year of university in 2008, and we were in the same course, obviously, which was programming and stuff like that. But we really hit it off, and we decided that when we get out of university, we would start up a company and make games.
Oh, okay. And what about Karen?
Well, I met Karen while she and Gordon were dating. I think it was my fourth year of university, or it might have been right after we graduated, so that memory is a bit fuzzy, so sorry about that.
Oh, don't worry. That's totally fine. But when exactly did you guys start working on Kung Fu Dancing?
When did we start working on Kung Fu Dancing? Well, Gordon and I came up with the initial idea in mid-2010, but didn't start working on it until later that year. And we wanted the gameplay to be a mixture of Kung Fu and dancing because Gordon says that he took Kung Fu classes as a kid and Karen loves dancing, so we just combined those elements into one.
Awesome. And how many prototypes have you guys developed before, you know?
Well, we made 3 prototypes, including the one that you played, and the third one was actually going to be the prototype that we would show off to Microsoft to get the game licensed and all that, but then the dev kit and the hard drives as well as Gordon disappeared.
Oh, and the disappearance was the whole event that happened, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And in the in the audio recording I just showed you, at which point while developing the prototype did this whole thing happen?
Well, I was just heading back to my apartment that day, and before leaving, I remember Gordon telling me that he would finish up programming the third level.
And that was the level that had Pumped Up Kicks playing in it, right?
Yeah, and about Pumped Up Kicks, I honestly did not expect that he would put that song in the game. I mean, the song that originally would have played in that level was going to be, I think we were going to do either Moves Like Jagger or Last Friday Night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and what we initially wanted to do was use the songs that were popular for the time and chose ones that we thought people would like. But at first, when I heard Pumped Up Kicks in that video, well, in the gameplay video you showed me of the prototype, I was honestly kind of confused and surprised.
But then when I showed you the audio recording earlier, you figured out why, right?
Yeah, when he explained it in the recording, then it began to make more sense. The themes of the song were somewhat correlated to that night.
And by the way, if you don't want to talk about that specifically,
Oh no, well, it's fine. Really, it's fine.
well, all right. And another thing, what was the main plot of the game?
Well, the game story was going to be rather simple, actually. It was going to be that your character was the only one who showed up to be trained to defeat the villain, which was, by the way, not intended to be called Huandun.
Oh yeah, because Huandun roughly translates to the word asshole in English.
Yeah, and I really don't know why he renamed the villain, like to that especially. And I can't really remember what we were going to call the villain before the whole thing happened, so sorry.
Oh, trust me, it's fine.
Well, alright, so what's your next question?
Well, I'd like to know what role you played in Kung Fu Dancing's development, because based on the recording I just showed you, it's pretty apparent that Gordon was the one who was programming the game, so I'm assuming that you were designing the game?
Yes, I was designing the game while it was in development.
Alright.
Oh, and by the way, where did you find that recording anyway? Just wondering.
Oh, well, I found it on...
Oh, well, I didn't think it would be on that website.
Yeah, it was posted not too long before Gordon, you know. But the post was taken down in less than a week, and luckily after some really, really deep digging, I found it on an internet archive.
Huh, well, with that I guess you're really dedicated into finding more about Kung Fu Dancing then.
Yep, I am.
Yeah, and it's sort of flattering in a way, but also kind of traumatic for me because it's also relating to an event that I mainly just want to shove out of my memory, so yeah.
Yeah, and once again, I'm sorry if you, find this all a bit uncomfortable to talk about.
Oh, no, really. Really, I'm fine.
Well, alright, so at the end of the recording, there was a part where Gordon presumably is, on the phone with you, but you couldn't be heard, so what did you say in that phone call?
Oh, well, my memory is a bit fuzzy on this one too, but I remember saying, after he picked up saying, "Where are you?" and "Why did you kill Karen?" And I also remember asking, "What have you been up to?" and where I can find you, and he told me to go to the Ambassador Bridge, and then it ended. So after that phone call, I got in my car and drove to the Ambassador Bridge, which was a really long drive. And then when I finally got to the Ambassador Bridge, Gordon's car was just in the middle of it, parked to the side, and I saw Gordon standing outside of it. Alright, and then I pulled over and got out. I walked towards Gordon, who walked over to the railing of the bridge, and I yelled at him, asking what he was doing all this time, and he didn't respond, and all he did was just climb over the railing. And I yelled at him again, asked why he was climbing over the railing, and he only said one thing to me before he jumped, and it was simply, "Goodbye, Jeremy."
That's all he said?
Yep, that's all he said, and then he jumped, and I watched him fall, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should call the police or just leave, so I just sat there for a while.
Huh. And how did you feel when it happened?
I really don't know, to be honest. I mean, he was a really good friend of mine, and I did shed a few tears, but I was also struck with a ton of confusion because at that point I had absolutely no idea what was going on with him. I mean, well, at least until now, but he did tell me that he went insane with guilt, so I honestly don't know, though.
Oh, and I'm really sorry for asking this, but was his body found?
Yes, it was. But I wasn't there when they looked for it, though. But I didn't call the police either, so I'm assuming that someone else who saw it called the police and they found the body, so yeah.
Oh, well, I'm really sorry.
Oh, no, it's not your fault at all, it's just, yeah. But let's just move on, though.
Alright, sure thing. So, when Gordon first disappeared and all that, were you questioned by police at all?
Oh, yeah, obviously, but I didn't say that Gordon was the one who killed Karen, though, because I wasn't necessarily in that position to say his name, but they eventually found out by searching his home and his belongings, so yeah.
Oh, alright. Well, next question. Oh, I'm sorry if this is in a bit of a weird order, so
Oh, no, well, it's totally fine, so just go ahead.
Well, alright, so in the recording, Gordon says that you called him several times, and obviously he hasn't called you back once until he eventually did. Are you sure he didn't speak to you before he took his life, other than when he called you to meet him at the Ambassador Bridge?
Well, I don't really know why he didn't mention this, but I texted him, asking where he was, and all he responded was, I think was, I'm not in the U.S. And I remember responding with what are you up to? And he just responded with, I'm just working on the game with guilt. And I just remember being really confused, and I tried to get more out of him, but he just never responded. So, yeah, so any more questions?
Yeah, actually, well, just two more questions. So do you happen to know by any chance how the Kinect development kit that you guys were working on ended up on eBay?
No clue. But my best guess is that after Gordon died, his apartment in London, Ontario became vacant, and I'm assuming that he left the dev kit in there, and when the new residents moved in, they might have found it and put it on eBay.
Oh, yeah, well, that seems plausible. And finally, what did you do career-wise after this whole thing happened?
Well, I ended up moving to Washington and actually ended up working for Nintendo in its marketing departments, and I eventually quit Nintendo to work for Microsoft.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Glad that you're doing well for yourself. So, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
No problem, and thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Alright, well, you take care, Jeremy.
You too, Cameron.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast just like me. In fact, it was a little bit